Study for the bar exam coming up this summer in 2025. I wanted to share my tips on how to study for the bar exam and tips that might help you for the upcoming bar exam this summer because I know there's a lot of information out there. And I feel like a lot of it, especially when I was learning to study for the bar, was really stale. I passed the bar on the first try, and I just wanted to give my tips and advice for new people who are graduating this year and taking the bar in July. The first thing you want to look at as picking a company or a study company that works with you and your type of way that you study best. I know the main ones are Barbary, Kaplan, and Themis. Between those three companies, you want to look at what their study schedule is and if it works for you. I had picked Themis before COVID, which was totally online because I knew I wanted to create my own schedule versus Barbary had in-person classes at the school. So you really want to look at which one you think will work best for you. And you really want to be honest with yourself on what works best. Some people really like being in person. They like working from an office or a coffee shop or something like that. And so you have to really decide if that is what works best for you. I learned through law school and studying for all the different finals and like the MPRE that I liked creating my own schedule. So definitely look at that if you're still deciding on what company to use and looking at those options and also the types of videos that both companies have. One big thing I liked about Themis as well is that a lot of the videos were shorter. So a lot of the lessons had shorter videos and review. So obviously there was more videos than Barbary or Kaplan. But for me, I liked that schedule better. So I could do a few, take a break, a few more, take a break. Versus Barbary, they had, 2 hour long videos for one subject and then one final study at the end. And I knew that would just be so much harder for me. And I would probably be backtracking to look at going through it again and retaking notes and having to pause in between. I just like the Themis, the shorter 10, 15, 20-minute videos and then review after that. The next thing you want to do after picking a company is make your own study schedule. Another part of like picking a company that works for you is you want to pick a study schedule that works for you. Whether you want to start early in the morning or start later in the day or whatever the case may be, depending on what your own personal life is at that time. But finding what really works for you and what you know will be most effective for the 3 to 4 months or 2 to 3 months that you'll be studying very consistently for this exam. For me personally, I am more of a night owl, but I'm very productive in the morning and I just like to get things done. So I decided to start studying earlier in the day so I could have more flexibility at nighttime. So I was waking up a little after 5 a.m. and starting studying at 5:30. And while this is definitely early, I liked being there, right as the sun was rising at the time, the light coming up. And then I feel like the first 7 hours of the day until noon would just go by really fast. So I really liked getting a big chunk of that done. Most of the study programs recommend studying about 60 hours a week. So 10 hours a day for 6 days a week or dividing on how you wanted to do it. But it's really important to do what works for you. If you need to go and take breaks, recommend that, especially just going for a midday walk after studying for a few hours. Just sitting, you naturally just get tired, even if you have the energy to keep studying or writing or reading or whatever you might be doing. It's good to get up, move your body just 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then come back to it. So I would start early, have my time in the morning, have coffee, do those kind of things. And then I was normally done by about 4 or 5 p.m. So I could have the nights to myself, which I really enjoyed. So I could go down to the building and just talk with friends, or if I wanted to just go down to the hot tub or whatever the case may be. I liked having that time. And it would also give me time to do other things I really like to do. I was a big pickleball player, as you can see by my shirt. So if I started really early, I would have those couple hours in the afternoon if I wanted to go play pickleball and then come back and study later at night or whatever the case may be. And also too, I would definitely not give up any hobbies that you have to a certain extent during the summer, because some people were like, I didn't work out at all. I cut off all social media. I didn't do anything during that time. And yeah, you really don't want to be partying a lot while you're studying for the bar because it affects your sleep and different things like that. But going out and doing like good, healthy hobbies, like going on walks with friends, or if you're part of a summer volleyball league and going and playing volleyball for a couple hours once or twice a week, is not going to derail your studying for the bar. Don't listen to people that say you can't do anything. That is such a lie. I mean, obviously everybody is different, especially when it comes like social media. Some people turn it off because they just get way too distracted by it and they can't stop themselves. So you really have to know yourself and what works. Definitely good outdoor, being able to move your body, see your friends, see your family a couple times a week will definitely help with the studying, because you have to remember that studying for the bar exam, it's a marathon, not a sprint. They always say that, but it's so true. You're going to be studying probably a minimum of 10 to 12 weeks, depending on how early you start. I would not recommend starting now necessarily because it's just too much. And a lot of it, if you have studied through school and passed the classes and are able to graduate, you're smart enough, you remember it, you've learned most of the stuff before. Because a lot of the bar exam is stuff you've learned before. It's just taking the time to kind of remember it all again. So as you keep studying, it will come back to you and you'll remember, oh, I learned this and I learned this. And it's just, that's why they don't recommend studying for a year before the bar exam, even though it's a really big exam, because you've learned it, the knowledge is there, and you just have to trust yourself and trust the process that you are doing. Next, towards the end of your studying, like the last 3 weeks or so, I would definitely diversify your questions and what you are reviewing. So, example, each different company has their questions and what they use. And you'll kind of notice after doing it for a month or two that it becomes consistent. Like you kind of recognize this type of question and what the answer they're looking for. So you kind of get used to it. So you definitely want to look at other companies' questions towards the last month once you've gotten the main, memorization of all the different rules and laws and regulations, especially when it comes to the multiple choice, is where you want to look at other questions. A lot of schools offer free services for companies that they have partnered with to do questions through them. So asking your school or asking your friends from other companies if they can send you their questions and the answers, or buying books in Barnes and Noble if they're kind of still around, or online, just really diversifying the questions you're doing and the different company questions so that you get more comfortable with the uncomfortable type of questions, like, oh, I haven't seen this style before, or what they're looking for. Because even though a lot of these companies take their questions from previous bar exams, they are kind of similar. It's just hard to explain, but you will notice it when you get to it. There is a difference, and definitely recommend, especially your last 3 to 4 weeks, to start going through these different questions and looking at the different types of questions they have and the different styles and the answers they're looking for, because all these different types of questions could be on the bar exam or something similar. So you definitely want to diversify a little bit so you don't get so comfortable with the same thing, because the bar exam is not put on by the company of the study you are taking. So definitely diversify your options that way. Next, you also don't want to listen to everything everybody else is doing. Everybody has a different study style and what their schedule is. You probably noticed this during finals. Some people just totally disappear. Some people, it seems like they're not studying at all. You really just want to do what is good for you and kind of what the company recommends. So I really liked about Themis is they had a percentage out of 100, which they say most people you only need to get to about 90% of the course. And it would tell you each day until the bar exam, you should be doing, 2.3% of this course. So it was nice to kind of see your progress and what personally you are doing. And don't always rush to get super far ahead unless you're like, some days, obviously you're more productive than others. So it's okay to do a little more, but don't try to do the first week's worth in like the first 2 days. You definitely want to pace yourself, trust what you're doing, just get the good foundation and good basic, and just know that the work you're putting into it will pay off in the end if you're doing the right thing. It's always quality over quantity. Because there were some people who I knew who were like, oh, I'm studying 70 or 80 hours a week. I'm doing all this extra and blah, blah, blah. And that didn't make them do any better on the bar exam than me. Some people obviously did better, but if you pass, you pass. And the scores, if you want to transfer them at some point. But the big thing is you just want to pass and do what works for you. No one's going to get a perfect score on the bar exam. That doesn't exist. Like, you want to do well, you want to learn, and everybody's style is going to be different. Like, I met some people who like delete all their social media for the 3 months for studying. They didn't hang out with friends or family for 3 months. That just doesn't work for me. And I think it's important when you're pacing yourself at something to kind of take the time to do those healthy habits I was saying earlier, or going out and doing things every once in a while. Like, one bad day is not going to kill you. If you take a day off, you're just like, I'm too exhausted, I can't focus today. Just take some time off, whether it's part of the day or the full day, and then just get back to it the next day. Because going through and trying to learn while you're not listening at all, it's like reading a book and then you don't remember the whole chapter. You don't want that to happen like every day you're studying for the bar. So give yourself grace, take a day off, and continue. Obviously, in the beginning, you're going to have more energy to be able to study. So this is going to be more of a thing towards the end. But the biggest thing is do what works for you and don't listen to other people. Like, even what I'm saying, like, take everything with a grain of salt, but find out what works best for you. And I feel like that's the hardest thing with law school in general and just legal things is everyone's like, you have to do this a certain way and do this and just grind hard and don't do social media, like thinking that's going to make you a better person or better at studying or for the bar by doing all these things that are quote unquote like traditional for the legal field. But you really just have to find out what works for you and you'll thrive that way. Because I know, like, for me, like, not doing any of that for 3 months just would not have gone over well for me and myself, and trying to really like make sure I'm doing it well. And you don't want to get put down by hearing other people all the time saying, I'm studying 80 hours a week, so much extra. Or a lot of people sometimes too will try and start studying way early before graduation as well. And while that's okay to maybe review some of the terms you learned one all year, because it's been a little bit of time since you've gone through some of that, maybe you still just want to just be light about it and then just kind of wait until the end. Finish your classes, graduate, enjoy that time, and then kind of get to it after that, and just kind of grind through the summer until the test, and just know that you're putting in the time, you're putting in the work. It will most likely pay off. Not everybody passed the first time. Depending on the state, it can be lower, like 50, 60% or so, depending on each class is different and who's taking it. But just know that if you're doing the correct things, putting in the work, that it probably will pay off. And most of us are smart enough, if you go through law school, you've passed some of the other tests, you have a good chance to pass this time. And even if you don't pass the first time, you can take it again. Sometimes it just takes people longer, and that's okay. You don't want to feel bad for that happening to you either. You just know that some of the people who took it or didn't pass it the first time and maybe took them a couple times are now super successful, like top partners at the biggest law firms. So not everyone at a big law firm or that comes off super smart always pass the first time, because we're all different. We're all humans. Some people just don't test well, or some people, whatever they're reading or writing, it takes them a little more time. The bar exam is so old school, as most lawyers will tell you. What you study and learn for the bar exam, you probably will never use in the legal field, sadly. Like, it's good to know the basics of what things are, but like what I practiced the last 3 years, I did not learn like at all in law school. So, you just have to play the game. You have to play the bar game. It is a game, and you have to do it by their rules and how they want it. And even if in the future, this isn't how the legal system really works or what I'm going to use, this is the entrance to get there. So you kind of have to play their game, play by their rules, do what you can, and then the rest of your future is up. These tips and this insight helps you decide what your study life is going to be for taking the bar and how to pass the bar on the first time, and looking at all the different options you have. I know when I was studying for the bar 5 years ago now, there still wasn't a lot of information. I'm kind of surprised how little there is now. I feel like most of the legal videos you see are just top people at like Harvard or Yale. I passed the bar on the first time and got all these jobs and all these different things. And so sometimes it's good to just hear from someone who went to a regular school, regular person. I was not top of my class. I did fine, but I never did like super well, got the top 1% or anything. I still passed the bar. I still got into big law, worked my way up to a lot of the big bar organizations, with Chicago, some of the biggest in the country. So don't ever limit yourself or think just because you did all these things or are doing something different that you're doing it wrong, which is really hard in the legal field because a lot of people say you have to do it this exact way or you're not going to succeed. And that just is not true. That's kind of the old style way to think about things. And if you have any other questions, leave them below. I'm going to do a couple more videos since the whole bar season is coming up. And I want to give my tips and tricks for what I did that I think really helped passing on the first time and just, having a little bit different information out there than just what all